When people first go vegan, they can be really overwhelmed with, oh my God, what do I do? I have to do everything overnight. I have to stop buying leather shoes. I have to stop buying leather purses. I have to stop buying wool. I can't eat meat. I can't eat cheese. I can't eat eggs. Ah! And it's overwhelming, and I get it. And, certainly that's absolutely the ideal, is to stop contributing to the torture and slaughter or exploitation of animals in every way, shape, and form. But at the same time, a lot of people will say, it's too much, I can't do it, I'm quitting the whole thing. Just remember what your goal is. Your goal is to stop animals from being hurt and harmed and killed. So just do the best you can. You don't have to be perfect. Just really start leaning in, as Kathy Freston says, towards your goal. I first went vegetarian when I was in college. I had gotten a magazine in the mail from PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, and in the magazine was an article about factory farming and slaughterhouses. And up until that point, I had called myself an animal lover. It's how I most identified myself, as the biggest animal lover you would ever meet. But at the same time, I was eating meat for every single meal and not really thinking about those animals. But then when I read that magazine article and I saw these pictures of the animals on factory farms and in slaughterhouses, I didn't feel like an animal lover. I felt like a huge hypocrite. And in that moment, I knew I could never be a part of that ever again. And I went vegetarian overnight.
My name is Toni Kei, and if you've seen Bold Native, you probably know that I play the role of IROC. But in my real life, I'm an animal activist, I'm an environmentalist. I am a professional athlete, and I have been for my whole career. I've been vegan for 17 years. Real food is common sense. The earth gives us real food, and I want to behave that way. I want to be in line with the earth. And animals are not real food. It's like you. Like, you're not food to me. There's nothing in my instinct that tells me to eat you or to take these infantile claws and try and kill you.
This is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I have never loved food more, and I've never felt better physically, and I've also never felt better about myself because I'm not being a selfish asshole stuffing food in my mouth without even realizing what I'm causing to another living being.
I just literally started paying attention to every single thing has a right to live. And if I was a carnivore, obviously I would eat some of those things. But even the carnivores in the ocean only eat until it's time for them. They don't sit around and they're not glutton. They eat for survival, and that's how the chain works. I don't have to be a part of that chain.
It is hard while you're learning because you've never done it before. But then you read some books and you watch some videos online and you meet new people and you go to new restaurants. And you can't learn forever. At a certain point, you've learned how to be a vegan, and it's as natural as any other system you live your life by. People are the great variable. You never know what a person's going to do. So you get to your family's house, it's Thanksgiving, and they're still eating turkey. You know what I mean? That's my family. I'm from a farm town. I understand this. They're still eating turkey.
It really does dredge up a lot of stuff for people meeting and encountering vegetarians and vegans. And sometimes I will get on my high horse and start preaching, and people don't like it. So I think as vegetarians and vegans, we do need to be conscious of that, because we're ambassadors for the animals, and every time we come across like jerks, the animals suffer. But I read a really interesting article about a study that was done in Psychology Today, and it talked about basically when there's a whistleblower at a company, all the other employees of the company have this distaste for this whistleblower. The reason being is psychologically they feel bad about themselves that they allowed this bad behavior to go on and they weren't the whistleblowers. And in this article they actually cited the same thing for happening when people come across vegetarians or animal rights activists. They feel bad. You're a vegetarian and you're sparing lives, but I'm not. I'm a jerk. So you know what? Instead of making me the jerk, I'm going to make you the jerk for being the vegetarian. How do you overcome that without alienating yourself and ruining all your friendships? Very carefully. I think that there is a fine line, and some people really don't want to hear it at all, and other people I think are really open to hearing it. I think the best way is to get them to watch a movie like Bold Native and to just say, you've got to see this movie. I found it incredibly powerful and life-changing. You should really take a look at this. And then stepping back and letting them have their own feelings about it.
Since 1991 until 2008, I was a lying vegetarian, like most of the lying vegetarians. I would eat milk, cheese, fish, turkey on Thanksgiving, but it was organic. It was farm-raised until I figured out that murder is murder. And 2 years ago, I realized that I was not eating the meat, but eating the byproduct, and still aiding and abetting the murder of 56 million land animals a year. Somebody asked me, well, where do you get your protein? That's the ultimate dumb question. The same place the cow gets it from. I just don't deal with the cow. I eat the green leafy vegetables and I sit in the sun and I synthesize like I'm supposed to. And I said, but I was talking to this 800-pound gorilla the other day, and I go, how in the world are you a raw foodist? Whoever told you that you have to have this to sustain life has lied to you. The arthritis I had in my elbows and shoulders and wrists, gone. My back problems, gone. I'm back to 240 pounds. My stomach went down, my libido went up.
I don't feel nutritionally deficient at all. In fact, I recently wrote an ebook that analyzed 4 months of my raw vegan diet. What I came up with being raw vegan, I don't eat tofu, by the way. I don't eat soy products. Raw vegan is I get 104% of my RDA of protein every day without even trying. You know, this
What's
is...
it come from?
What's it come from? It comes from seaweeds. It comes from deep greens. It comes from nuts, some nuts. It comes from coconuts, avocados. These things are all actually high in protein, but more importantly, they're high in amino acids. So people have it in their mind that they need protein because they've been marketed to. We need protein, we need protein, we need protein. And I say, do you know anyone who's protein deficient? Absolutely not. Do you even know what the symptoms of protein deficiency are?
People will say, well, I went vegetarian, but I had to stop because I got really sick. And the truth of the matter is, sometimes when we go vegetarian, our bodies are detoxing. What happens is when we eat crappy food our whole lives, our body doesn't know how to process it. So it stores it as fat, and then it says, I'm going to come back to this later when I can. But it can never come back to it because it's always continuing to try and process more and more junk that you're putting in your body, and it's just exhausted. So when you finally stop putting this junk in your body, it finally says, oh, I actually am just processing this food beautifully. I'm going to now go to that stored crap that's been there all these years and start working on that and start breaking it down. And you know what? It feels really bad. It's detoxing.
As Yoda said in The Empire Strikes Back, you either do or do not. There is no try. So if you want to do it, you can go to jonasally.com. I got a vegetarian starter kit.
I think a great way to start is a 30-day veg pledge, and to just say, for the next 30 days, I'm not going to eat any dead animals. I'm not going to eat any dead cows, dead chickens, or dead pigs, and that's it. And if you go on goveg.com, you can actually get a free vegetarian starter kit, which has tons of great, useful recipes, information, and inspiration.
The advice I would give somebody living in small-town Iowa or Michigan who desires to change their diet, and they're limited by the seasons, you know, by the fact that they get winter for 6 months a year, and by the fact that they can only import certain fruits and vegetables. They only get what's in their area and in their consciousness, the area's consciousness. So if everybody there eats meat, your grocery store has a bunch of meat. Write a list down of the things you absolutely cannot do without. Your favorite foods, because the point here isn't to make anyone feel restricted or to put too much pressure on them that they suddenly fail. That list should be like 10 items long, and always have those items in your house during the transition phase.
It can be overwhelming and it can be daunting, but it also can be really simple, and it's as simple as like, okay, let's just start with one meal at a time. For breakfast, what do you eat? I eat a bowl of cereal. Okay, that's probably mostly vegan. If you read the ingredients of the cereal, make sure there's no eggs in there. There's usually not. Make sure there's no whey protein or milk in there. Then you're fine. Great, your cereal's vegan. The milk that you put in, instead of buying cow's milk, buy soy milk, buy rice milk, buy almond milk, buy hemp seed milk. Buy them all. Try them. Figure out which ones you like the best. They have them in every major grocery store. Even if you live in Podunk, Pennsylvania, they've got it. My personal favorite is rice milk. But I know a lot of people prefer soy or almond milk. For lunch, it's like, well, what do you eat for lunch? Well, normally I go to Burger King and I get a cheeseburger. Great. Now go to the same grocery store in Podunk and buy veggie burgers. That's it. It's just that simple. For dinner, what do you eat? Normally I go to Taco Bell and I get a burrito. Great. Make a burrito at home, or go to Taco Bell and get their bean burrito and get it with no cheese. Just really look around and see that there's actually a ton of vegetarian and vegan foods out there that you just don't realize are that. And just substitute and swap out the meat and cheese foods for the substitutes now. And that can look like trying all the veggie meat substitutes, or it can look like eliminating meat and cheese altogether and just leaning more towards the actual plant-based foods.
Every day I eat a salad, humongous salad. My favorite thing right now is simple salad. And I just throw on some walnut oil and a little bit of Himalayan crystal salt. And this is like simple salad. It couldn't make me happier.
Try every raw vegetables you can possibly try and drink at least a gallon of coconut water the first 3 days, just to hydrate your system. And then drink water, eat plants, nuts, grains, legumes.
I can definitely see it being challenging for people who go vegan or vegetarian in a place where there are no other vegans or vegetarians. You know, people have this misconception that vegetarianism is so unhealthy, and the protein thing, if you don't get enough protein, you'll die as a vegetarian. And I think the best way to counter that is to just really get focused on what you know and not so much worry about what other people think, and really just be armed with as much information as possible, and instead of being defensive and saying and attacking people when they attack you, to just really be calm and say, well, actually the truth is vegetarians get more than enough protein. Or actually, vegetarians are lucky in that they have lower rates of heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and stroke, and that's what our nation's top killers are.
I just had a girl, I was on set, and our makeup artist's daughter was vegetarian for like 6 months, she said, but then she went back because it was too hard for her, and her daughter showed up on set the last night of filming. The first thing she said was, well, I felt like I needed more energy. But then as we actually got to talking, it wasn't that. What she needed was more support from her family. People started saying, you have to eat meat. You need to be healthy. You're not healthy if you don't eat meat. And how do you, when you're 18 years old, go up against that? If you want to ascribe to somebody's health teachings, pick out a good teacher. So if the person looks healthy to you and they're not obese and they have an active lifestyle and they're glowing and they're in love and they have positive people surrounding them, that's the person I want to know what you're doing. And I said, you know, are these people who are questioning your vegetarian diet the type of health you want to be like? And that really affected her. We eat every single day. We might not meditate every day. We might not exercise every day, but we eat every day. And so it's just common sense. It's just, you know, like step back and look at what a tool food really is. And if you want a certain life with certain people surrounding you and certain complexion and physicality and athleticism and intellect and artistry, then look to your food. You can change your life.